Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Welcome to another episode of She is Resilient. Today we have another amazing guest, VIRI. VIRI, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do for a living?
Of course. Thank you for having me today. My name is Viridiana Rodriguez. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a Latina therapist. I am a professor. I teach at Cal State LA. I teach Master of Social Work students. I am a healing guide. I consider myself a healing guide and guide people in their healing journey as part of outside of being a therapist. This is my new role and being a healing guide. I'm also a dog mom. I have a golden doodle. He is 2.5 years. I am a Thea. I'm an aunt. I am a daughter. I am a sister. And I am a human being trying to figure out parts of herself that need healing and really dig deeper, because I feel like it's a constant unlearning behaviors that our childhood, that we went through in childhood, right? So I speak self-love and healing, holistic healing approaches. And that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Yes, you wear so many hats. I'm always so impressed by all the roles that you hold. So
Thank you.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about who you were before you became this version of yourself.
Oh, wow. It's been a journey. I feel like I'm still in it and I still will continue to be in it. I feel like I am evolving. I think that even getting outside of my therapist hat right now and doing more non-clinical services and supports for adults, I that within itself has been a process. So I Right now I am CEO of Amar Therapy and I have my own private practice, but being able to do that jump uh, took a lot of courage. I used to work for school-based mental health, and I did that position for about 10 years in a lot of different school districts, three different school districts in a lot of schools. So I was able to support elementary, middle school, and high school level, and that within itself was a role that I needed to unlearn. My nervous system was a lot of go, 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 and being able to dig a little deeper when my body was talking to me and listening to it. I think that I hit a big wall 2020
Mm,
during pandemic,
mhm.
when my body started to feel certain pain in certain areas, and I was questioning even the position that I was in, life in general, and I really needed to pay attention to my body's needs, my mental health, my emotional well-being, and take it slow. Honestly, it was a big awakening for me. So that was a big big aha moment, you can say so.
Mm-hmm.
And then things started happening within that last year where I'm like, I need to make a change. And I was doing private practice part-time. So
Mm-hmm.
that was bringing me joy and happiness. So I was like, I need to do more of that. And
Yeah.
I had to take that leap for
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's really common for a lot of people to kind of hit that breaking point before they realize that it is time to change something in their lives, right? Like for
Yeah.
you, you were experiencing those symptoms, that pain in your body, and you were like, okay, it's time to stop being on the go.
Yeah. So I was constantly on the go. And even now, I have to catch myself when my nervous system is feeling that go, go, go. And then my body does immediately now starts to talk to me, and I have to listen. And I do, and I take it slower. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a day off. And these are my needs right now. And it just shifts a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Running a business, right? So I feel like running a business and having a business, it's a much more personal um like personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like it allows you, if you actually do it, to go deeper within your mental health needs, and your physical needs and your psychological needs, right? Everything.
Yeah, and if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit more about what was that needed some attention that helped you say, "Okay, it's time to open up that business."
I was and have been a cycle breaker where I always questioned and got curious about certain things. I think that um, being a woman in general, I feel like we have a lot that goes against us, um, with regards to societal norms and what is acceptable, quote unquote, right? That I started to step into my power, and I started to really question the norm within my family, within my circles, within myself, right? Um, and every level. And I started to really pay attention to what made me happy, what made me get uh, creative, and what I enjoyed doing, the passion for it, and continue to listen to that. But I'm all about the fact that we're not one box fits all, meaning, and I I talk about this a lot, and I think that on my stories, I even had someone tell me like, it's so interesting how you're a therapist and you're saying how therapy isn't going to be the end all be all for healing. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah. I'm like, and I'm a therapist, and I'm telling you that. Why? Because it's it has not been for me either. I'm like, so we have to try and get curious about different modalities, different ways of healing. So I had to unlearn a lot of like calladita te ves más bonita, and not using my voice.
And for our English-speaking audience,
Yes.
what does that mean?
So that what really means in our Latinx culture is that you look prettier silence.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like silence is the best for you as a woman, right? And a lot of us were raised with your voice is not important, your worth isn't important, and you have no choices, right? Well, I am the youngest out of four, and um, as being the youngest one and the one that has done things very differently out of all my siblings, and leaving home without being the typical like getting married, having kids, all that, right? So I have been the first of many things. Again, I'm a cycle breaker and breaking that cycle one moment at a time, and embracing all the fear that comes with it and leaning into that and doing it anyway. I
Mhm.
was terrified when I left home at 29. I'm 35 now, but 29. And I'm like, nobody has done this because I had never seen an example of it. But I'm like, but I need this. I need this for my mental health. I've always wanted to live on my own, like all this, right? And leaning into that discomfort. And like, I know this is right for me, but it feels scary, but I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah, 1000%. That does take a
Mhm.
lot of courage to say, I'm going to do it, even though it's really scary. And even though there might be family members who might make comments or judge me or whatever it is, right? Because in a lot of Hispanic households, it's very common to stay living at home
Mm,
until you are married and going to have a family. So, yeah, this is a very brave move that you decided to make.
yes, yes. And I am so glad I did it. And I've been obviously living on my own since then. And it's like a new norm, I guess, within our family now because someone has done it. And now it's I do have because I have nieces and cousins, female cousins, and they do see an example of that in me. So it's kind of I'm paving a path for a new duration, a new generation,
Mhm.
right? And this new generation can break the mold.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
so it's a lot of unlearning though. A lot of unlearning of internal feelings, sensations as well, even when something might not make sense. And it's something I feel like it's not even mine sometimes.
Mm.
Um, so if I really go deep into my story, something that I actually have never shared before, but my mother, when she was, I think, 6 or 8 months pregnant of me, she had a car accident and her belly hit the dashboard of
Mm.
the car. So internally, I feel like there was trauma at the wound even before I was born.
Yeah.
So I feel like my nervous system and just like overall my body talking was at the wound. And then obviously I was born. And when I was born, I hear stories from family members letting me know that I was such a crybaby. Like every single time I would get on a car, I would cry,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
right? And my mom had no idea how to console me and soothe me. And she just didn't had no education, right? So my mom had no idea how to help me out.
Mhm.
And I was called not normal and I was called different, right? From the wound, from as a
Mhm.
baby. So now as therapists and trauma informed and what we know somatically and like all this, right? I'm like, of course, as a baby, I my only way of talking was crying.
Yeah.
And the vehicle was a traumatic area for me because at the wound, I was impacted.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so many people don't realize that, right? That we may not have words to describe what's happening, or we may not have memories, but our bodies always remember, right? Even if it is pre-verbal, even if it is at the wound, right? Even if it's generational trauma, right? That has nothing to do with you, right? Maybe it's something that
Mhm.
your parent experienced and you weren't even a thought at the time, that is still passed down, right? And the body remembers always. And that's what was happening for you.
Yes,
Mhm.
100%. And now as I do my own healing and I look back into my like history, I'm like, even as a baby, even before I was born, I'm like, it all makes sense, right? For me now, based on what I know. And obviously my mom had no idea,
Yeah.
but the body remembers, babies remember,
Mhm.
and it's all about listening and allowing,
Mhm. Yeah.
allowing.
Yes. And so earlier you had said that you started to branch out of therapy, only doing therapy, and you started kind of trying out these different approaches. And so I'm curious to know what were some of those approaches that you started to
Yeah.
incorporate in your life?
So I've tried, and I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so energy healing. So I've tried Reiki. I much recently right now, um, I do cupping. So I have a body worker and I do massage, intentional therapeutic massage with cupping. So
Mhm,
cupping has really helped my body release. What else have I done? I've done different types of massage, like Thai massage, deep tissue massage, right?
mhm,
There's different forms of massages, so that's important to know. Um, Acupuncture,
mhm.
that's another form of holistic healing.
Yes.
Um, Breath work. Breath work has been powerful.
Mhm,
I experienced that at a conference training for therapists, and I had no idea that was part of it. And when I experienced it, I was like, what is this? Where
mhm,
has this been in my life? I was like, how did my body just do that
mhm.
with that type of breath work? I was
Yeah.
like, I need this. I'm like, clearly there was
Yeah.
a there was a lot that came out of that. So breath work, cold plunge,
Mhm.
um, that I have done once, and I would love to keep doing because I feel like cold therapy can really help.
Absolutely.
Um, Trying to think what else, but overall, I do a lot of energy healing, um, holistic healing on top of my therapy.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the energy healing part because everything is energy, right? And I talked about this in another podcast that hasn't come out yet, but by the
Hmm.
time this podcast comes out, it will be out. But yes, everything is energy, right?
It is.
And it's going to impact us whether we, again, have that cognitive awareness or not. So I'm curious to know what helped you know that you were healing. What were some
Mm,
shifts inside of you, whether they were shifts in perspective or your behavior or your
yeah.
emotions that told you that you were healing?
I felt lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I felt lighter. I felt happier.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I just literally felt like even in my surroundings, things were getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, everything's energy, right? So we are the energy. So if we're stuck, then our surroundings is not going to go well and
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to be stuck and deep, right? So if we focus on our energy and if we focus on ourselves, there will be movement in my surroundings. So things were going better, things were going well, my body started feeling better. There was happiness, there was more joy. I was able to connect with people more. um, I was aligning with uh, friends better, my family, my parents. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a big major shift recently has been my relationship with my parents and especially with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
um, because I feel like I have a generational mother wound that I am working on, and part of speaking my truth because it wasn't, my mom wasn't able to do that. My grandmother wasn't able to do that. So I feel like I'm breaking that cycle right now by
Mm-hmm.
speaking my truth, being in my power, and showing that in my family, women have worth and we're able to do what we can, whatever we desire
Mm-hmm.
outside of a typical role of a
Mm-hmm.
woman in our culture, right? So my relationship with my parents got better, has been getting better. Feels like all the resentment or guilt or whatever it was there that was keeping us apart, right? Not being able to connect in a deeper level, being able to release that within
Mm-hmm.
myself, my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's also in the little moments, in the daily moments of like my daily meditation.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So every morning I fill my cup. If it's at least 5 minutes, I try to sit with my body. And I was doing this before I made the jump too,
Mm-hmm.
before I left school-based mental health. So I was starting to see that those moments in my morning were so important, and I wanted to continue feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
And and what did I needed to do? Well, I needed to make change that felt scary.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah. And, I love what you said at the beginning of this. You said that we are the energy. I love that so much. And the reason I love that is because it's true. When we start to make that one simple change in our lives, we start to see a domino effect in our lives, right? Like we see this all the time when clients start therapy for the first time, right? They make that first step to start therapy, and
Yeah.
then things just naturally start to shift. Or when you
Hmm.
first start to uh, meditate, or when you first start to eat healthy, or when you first start
Yeah.
that one podcast, right? When you make that one simple change, everything
Hmm.
starts to change, right? And I really like how you said that we are the energy.
Hmm. Yeah. If we really, really think about that and start to just shift our energy,
Hmm.
then our environment shifts too.
1000%. Yeah. Totally. So let's talk about resilience. And
Mhm.
it's clear that through all of these different modalities and approaches that you've engaged in, you have created that safety and resiliency in your nervous system to continue to heal and make those shifts. And so, first, tell us what your idea of resilience is, and then tell us how, if someone is struggling with creating resiliency in their lives, what would you suggest that someone do to create that resilience in their nervous system?
When I think about resilience, right? I think about inner strength. I think about the inner strength that you have to also that you have internally, but you have to transmit it in outward, right? And that can be shown very differently. Um, Everybody shows it very differently, and I think really tapping into what does that feel like for you? What does that show like, right? I'm all about the feelings, right? And the energy. So I would say tap into your inner strength. What keeps you going?
Mm-hmm. And how can people do that? How can people tap into their inner strength? And maybe just give us like one example of something that someone can do to tap into that inner strength. Because I think that a lot of the time it's easier said than done, right?
Oh, 100%.
And so how would someone, if they've never done something like
Mm.
this before, how would someone do that?
So a lot of the times when I have a client that I work with and they're like, I need inner strength, I need connection, right? Um, I need motivation, but they don't remember when's the last time they even felt that way, or they don't maybe never felt it before. And
Mhm.
as we talked about how everything's energy, right? And how we're all very unique individuals and it's going to look different for everybody. So I would tap into give me a sensation in the body, give me a color that
Mhm.
represents inner strength or resilient for you?
Mm-hmm.
Give me an object,
Mm-hmm.
a symbol. So we're making it tangible.
Mm-hmm.
We're having them visualize this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to be very unique to them. And what I do is I have them tap it into the body with doing a butterfly technique tapping
Uh-huh.
as they are connecting with this visual, describing it to me, feeling it, and connecting the body. So we do a lot of the mind body connection.
I love that. I love that so much. So you're holding this image of whatever inner strength looks like for that person, and then you're holding your hand in almost like this butterfly, so like one hand crossed over the other hand on the chest and just kind of tapping, alternating the taps
Mm-hmm.
on the chest while you're holding that image of inner strength.
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
like I said, everything's energy and we're all very unique human beings. So it's going
Mhm.
to look very different for everybody. So
Yes.
what inner strength looks like for me
Mhm.
is going to be different than what inner strength and resilient is going to look for you.
Yeah, 1000%. Yeah. I love that. I love this so much. Oh, I love talking about energy. I love talking about sensations, all of it.
Yes.
Is there anything else that would be important for the audience to know about creating resiliency or starting a somatic practice? Did we cover everything?
I think that the other bigger piece that I really like to hone in is narratives. Because going back, right? You started with this saying in Spanish of calladita te ves bonita, right? And the silence within women looks prettier, that you
Mm-hmm.
look prettier when you're quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those narratives can be subconsciously there, right? Because we hear them in the family. So, one way or another, subconsciously, we have some connection to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's important that we tap into our narratives
Mm-hmm.
and we ask ourselves, whose narrative is this?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Right? Because a lot of the time, these narratives are not even ours,
Yes.
or we just have to really um, give identity to who it belongs to and just acknowledge that that is my mom's. I'm going to give it to her. It does not belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
This belongs to my dad and I'm going to give it to him. It's
Mm-hmm.
not mine and I do not want that.
1000%. Yeah, just sort of like removing that responsibility.
I think just really paying attention to the narratives, and if you can reframe some of those narratives and tapping into that reframe into your body.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you shared so much wisdom with us today.
Thank
So,
you.
how can people connect with you?
Yes, so I have two Instagram accounts right now, Amar Therapy
Mm-hmm.
and Amarte period community.
Mm-hmm.
I do one-on-one individual therapy sessions for anybody that lives in California.
Mm-hmm.
And non-clinical services, I do events in person and workshops for holistic healing.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find all that through Amarte period community because I feel like in this healing journey, life is not to be done alone, and
Mm-hmm.
community is super important. So a lot of my community work and what I do non-clinical holistic healing is through Amarte community.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also be hosting a virtual 8-week container for women coming up. And you'll find that all in my website as well on martherapy.com.
Yes, and that container, that 8-week container is starting very soon. So
Mm-hmm.
I would love, and also side note, I'm going to be a guest
Yes.
on in that program. So can you tell us a little bit more about the program? Who is it for? And
Yeah.
what are some things that the women in that program are going to learn and get out of it?
So, like I said earlier, in my journey, I try a lot of different things, different modalities, and community along the way was something that I felt like I was missing with people that I aligned with in the same journey. So, the bigger purpose for Amarte community, the 8-week container, is for having 5 women to go through 8 weeks together and experience different modalities. You will be presenting and be our guest speaker with somatic work. We're going to have other 2 guest speakers where we're going to explore sound healing, breath work, meditation, and Reiki. And all this is virtual. Each week, we will be talking about a different modality in relation to self love. So, the bigger theme is how can you go deeper into loving yourself in different ways? Within this 8-week container, these 5 women are going to go through it together.
I love that. Yes. So if you are a woman who is on their self-love journey and this sounds like something that you're really interested in, doing some energy healing and connecting with yourself, then I invite you to join this container. There's only spots for 5 women. So
Mhm.
I would definitely
Yeah.
reach out to Viri ASAP if you resonate with her and her story and are interested in working with her.
Yes. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm so excited.
Cool. So, again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and your wisdom and your insight, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast, or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at tatiana.holistic.coach. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.